Hello and welcome to the Antwerp vlog and fashion guide brought to you by the Grasping Heat. This video will be covering the trip that we made with Kostek in August and should give you the best possible impression of this beautiful city that we are able to make within our short stay there. This is actually the first installment of the series that we are planning, and the second one about Brussels is already on its way, so stay tuned for that. And now, without further ado, let's jump straight into some background information that you might consider useful. Antwerp is a port city, despite it being not that close to the sea itself. It was an important trading hub throughout the ages. To that fact, the city owes its unique status and culture. At first, it was connected with the trade of precious metals and stones, then the jewelry, and lastly, the fashion business. The city hosts the world-famous Royal Academy of Fine Arts, from which the Antwerp Six, Martin Margiela, Haider Ackermann and recently Demna Gvasalia all have graduated. Ralph Simons also wished to enroll, although he had heard that he has nothing to learn. What else is there to see? Definitely the docks, both the more modern and the classical sites, with the Barbican building. Also the old town with its tenement houses and amazing cathedral. However, there are also more modern districts around, providing an interesting marriage of vastly differing architectural styles. Another highlight is the train station, according to some the most beautiful one in Europe. It certainly leaves an impression, with its casseton ceilings and marble floors. The city, despite its relatively small size, is densely inhabited and culturally diverse. It even has its own small Chinatown, with this very cool looking gate. Oh, and there is an art museum. We sadly did not attend. It looks cool from the outside though. And the best part of all of that everything is within the 20-minute on foot distance from itself. Which is nothing short of amazing, but if you've gotten tired of all the walking, because who would have want to spend money on public transport, then what about using it on some fries? Yeah, so I've shown you around a bit, but now it's time for the most important part of Antwerp experience, and that is obviously the fashion. First, I must recommend you visiting the Momo Museum, which has pretty amazing, although fairly small, permanent collection, and also instead of a regular paper ticket gives you this really cool band. And yeah, so if we have that already covered, then now it's time for our shopping section.
So, if you want to go to shops, we can recommend you from retailers of high-end shops is Acne, but Acne is very small. I think it was the smallest Acne I've ever been to. There's a Celine, but this Celine is quite strange because it's half of Celine and half of others high fashion designers.
I think they were focused actually mostly on American fashion, which was a bit odd in a place like Antwerp. And at the other side of the store, there was just full-fledged
Yeah.
Celine retail shop. So
But if you came into, you need to go through this retail store, and then you can like
walk
whoop,
through to
walk
Celine.
through,
Yeah,
to go to
that's
Celine.
and also it's located aside from the city center, which was another like.
And inside of others like fashion stores, like yeah. So next store is Dries Van Noten, and like Dries Van Noten was in Mostin city center. It was 10 minutes from our house, and it's like 1 minute from Museum of Fashion. It's a very good place, I think. And it's very good
And
located.
it's located in a building that's called the Mode Palace.
Oh yes, yes, yeah.
The Fashion Palace, yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And also, it is this flagship store, the
Yeah.
biggest one, I think, probably in the whole world. So that's an experience in itself, definitely. And also, what we've noticed in Dries that was that was interesting and sort of new for us was that there were no price tags, no prices at all mentioned, and in order to know how much would it cost to buy a certain piece, you needed to browse through the paper catalog.
Yeah, and also the retailers had their notebook which they do note to write the prices, and you have for example this shirt and the price wrote by pencil.
Yeah.
Also, very nice shop is on the Millimeter shop. That place looks like palace also,
Yeah,
but
but
not
more.
classical, like
Mm,
modern palace.
yeah, I would say that's more like a church or temple of some
Maybe
kind. It's
temple.
this whole empty area. I mean, on the only photo that I was mentioned to find, there is this sort of a shelf in the middle. But when we were there, they had some sort of relocation of the hangers and the pieces that were in the shop of the whole exhibition. And it was just so empty that I felt weirdly like it was a bit awkward experience for me to stand there just alone in this whole empty space.
Yeah, and you heard that water was tapping, and this small waterfall outside the shop.
Yeah, this sort of Japanese garden
Yeah,
at the backyard. It looked amazing, but still very strange.
yeah. Look, like whole empty place and the wooden floor and the piece of shirts there and piece of ceramics.
The next section are the rich people shops. So the fashion boutiques, the retailers that sort of connect various high-end brands. And the first one on this list is Renaissance, which is actually a sort of a chain of local high fashion shops in Antwerp, and it connects three locations. The main one, the Renaissance.
Also blue, and the princess. The princess was only for rich ladies. Um,
Yeah, it
bl-
was only women's wear.
Blue was like smaller one of all of this and have like brands that I don't know if.
Yeah, the lesser known ones,
Yeah.
and also maybe a bit more experimental ones. And Renaissance was the main location. It was the biggest. It was
Men's
the one
collection.
with the biggest men's collection, and it had also the best discounts. It had discounted New Kenzo, but
Made by Nigo.
yeah, made by Niga, and they had also discounts on Jacquemus and several other interesting brands.
But
So
this Jacquemus was also too expensive after the discount.
yeah, but you had an option then there
Yeah.
to strike an interesting deal. So it was a nice shop overall. The second one from that category is Louis.
Yeah. I think Louis was the most interesting for all of this retailer shop, and Louis have a very big men's collection. They have a great discounts. They have Balenciaga shoes for 300, and because like they have stuff of like Balenciaga, like Margiela, right, like Rick Owens, and this pieces was not like random pieces. Like there was Adidas Balenciaga collection.
Yeah,
Um,
the one that was very sought after. It was immensely popular, and they had most of it there, and it was even discounted in part,
Yeah.
I think. And
Hoodie was discounted.
yeah. Also, about what you said, it was, I think, the only shop in which the men's collection and the women's collection were split in half, and you had separate floor for menswear and separate floor for women's wear. And also, the shop, the layout was very clear. It wasn't big. For example, Renaissance was maybe like 3 or 4 times bigger than Louis, but everything was packed in it very thoughtfully, and you could have seen that they were following this sort of minimalist philosophy, minimalistic aesthetic, and it was overall a very pleasant experience because everything was very clean, very clear, and you could have just focused on the clothes itself. For me, it was really a good thing about this shop.
Yeah. So then we can go to VR. VR was the first place that we went to, and we.
It's also, I think, sort of an icon of the Antwerp culture, especially the street culture. I think
Mm.
it's like the easily most recognized shop of them all.
Yeah, yeah. But also the sales man who worked on the sales was very polite, and he typed us on phone every shop that we now present, and he got a very big knowledge about that. I think he also goes to some of these places to buy some things.
Yeah, he gave us just all of the directions. It was the first shop that we went into, and we decided just to ask him whether he knows some more places that we might be interested in visiting. And he just asked me for my phone, and I gave it to him, and he typed in all of the names just in the notes section. So really, he was insanely helpful to us, and basically we owe him this video
And
in a most
we
part.
to admit the brands that they got inside, like Earl, like Cavent, like Walter von Berendonk, or Stasi, but not that basic Stasi long sleeve with two logos, but a Stasi cardigan, which was really beautiful. And what was the oh Razvit? Oh, they also had the Razvit. Like it wasn't like
Basically
typical stuff.
all of the Rosvet collection, and also some Walter von Beirendang.
Yeah, I told.
It was the only place that stocked Walter while we were in Antwerp. And yeah, basically all of the stuff that you just wouldn't get your hands on casually in Europe, the high street brands, the ones that are at the same time more connected with the streetwear culture, more targeted
Skate
to skate culture, more targeted for the people who are just interested in fashion in general, not for the people who have the money necessarily.
No. If you are skate, you can also go to VR and buy some skate pieces like hoodies or t-shirts from fucking Awesome on Hot.
Yeah, it's basically it seemed like the place in which you could get a really good bargain on something because they had this amazing sale, and some of the brands that are just lower on the price point, not necessarily the quality or hype, but just the price wasn't as big as in the other shops. And also, I think that this place could be really important for just the culture there, and it is this sort of hub that connects people with the similar interests, and it looked like it was also designed in that way that people just could easily hang out there and
Yeah.
sit around and talk for hours and hours.
Yeah, yeah, right. There was quite few people on.
It had this like welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah. Now, I can go to second hand and thrift store section, and the first one is Rosier 41. Name is from the street Rosier, and also on Rosier 36, I guess, there is a department of Raf Simons. So that's an interesting fact. And what is more, on Rosier we found out Haider Ackerman first time.
Yeah, they had the biggest stock of
Yeah.
Haider out of all the shops in Antwerp,
Yeah, 15 shirts.
but it was something.
Yeah, so.
And also they had a very good collection of Italian and French fashion, which wasn't that common in the other places that we've visited. You've seen some Balenciaga trainers there.
For 200 euros. It was a very nice discount, but it was 43, I guess, the size. So then I got 46. So yeah, I didn't buy it. Okay, then we went to Labels INC. That was second hand, but with a lot of Japanese fashion,
it's
archival Japanese fashion.
It's like a consignment store with second hand, although hand-picked pieces from only the best designers, and they have this just nothing sort of amazing collection of vintage Japanese fashion like Issey Miyake, Junya Watanabe, old Comme des Garçons from 90s and maybe even the 80s. Also amazing selection of Belgium designers with
Dries.
pieces
Under
ranging
Mister,
from Dries to
Margiela.
Under Millimeter and even I think AF van der Worst and certain less popular ones. So in terms of selection, I think it was maybe the best store out there because they had like very unique items, and also there was no bad pieces in there.
Yeah, there was no good pieces. Yeah, and then went to Vrijdagmarkt 6. Yeah, it's in Dutch. We don't speak Dutch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it means the Friday market.
Yeah, just a
And
Friday
it's also named from the square that the store is located on. And what's important about this one is that it was the only one that had
Menswear.
had menswear, that was focused only on menswear.
Yeah, and the man who was owner of this shop was a super guy. Like we talked with him twice. The first time we made this short small talk, but he told us that on the next day we'll get a big stock of vintage Walter from 97, yeah, 96 and 97 I think.
Yeah, I think so. It was surely the 90s.
And yeah, we asked him how expensive it might be, and he said expensive. We wanted to come. The next day there was a raining day, and we came there, and he looked at us, and yeah, we are just looking through the shop.
Yeah, because on the previous day we've actually wanted to ask him, does he know any sort of place which stocks vintage rough Siemens in which we may find some old rough pieces, and he said that unfortunately most of the time rough pieces are the ones that sell out really fast, and nobody really specializes in rough because you couldn't make a profit on it. So we are a bit disappointed because his words turned out to be true, but he teased this Walter to us, and we came back to just see it, and this time we've engaged in like more deep conversation with him, and he turned out to be a really fascinating person, and also someone who's got immense knowledge about both fashion and in particular the Antwerp fashion scene. And this conversation really changed our perspective, our whole outlook towards the city.
Yeah, and we also need to admit and thanks him, if you are watching, thank you very much for the free gifts that we gave.
Rough Siemens tape that you've got taped here.
Yeah, it's taped there
on your laptop. Maybe
oh,
pick it up.
oh, it's there.
And wait a second, because I've got the second one. He gave us also two of those dust bags from Rough Siemens runners, and he actually had this whole pile of stuff that was added to the clothing that he had in his
small
shop.
accessories.
Yeah, like the small accessories, and he said that usually he knows that he is supposed to throw this out, but because he doesn't need that, but he knows also that there are some people who might be happy from such a gift, and who might take this stuff that he doesn't need and would have thrown this away, and they will really cherish these pieces. So that's us.
That was very nice. That's very nice. We were very happy that day because it was raining and very depressed day. Yeah. So we can go to next shop.
Yes.
It was Jutka and Ryska. We recommend that. It wasn't anything special, but you can see and try.
I mean, it was special in sort of another way because it combined their household brand, the brand that the owners were creating both from scratch and also by customing some other pieces. With just a plain old trustworthy vintage shop, but also with hand-picked pieces, only designer stuff, which also places this shop on the higher side of our ranking. And lastly, let's talk for a little while, about the shops that you would rather not visit, the ones that are just plainly a time waste. And those are all of the classic second hands, basically the thrift shops that are selling clothes by the kilograms. Just
highly didn't recommend that. Like we were the three types of this shop. and it's like basic shop with nothing interesting. Maybe if you go there everywhere on drop time, you might find something. But if you are, basic traveler who just want to see nice fashion piece, it's definitely a waste of time because you need to spend few days, I think, to find something really interesting.
Yeah, basically you'll need to rely on your luck, and the probability that you will find something is extremely low, and in the most cases you'll just lost your time trying to navigate through basically just a huge pile of junk. And let's be honest, if you are thinking that you will travel to Antwerp and in each of the stores you will have hangars full of Dries Van Noten, Raf Simons, etc., filling up the stores up to the ceiling with pieces ranging from, I don't know, 5 or 10 euros, then you are surely mistaken.
Yeah, and I think we can sum up like what was there and what wasn't there. Like like the first thing, and when it came to my mind, there was no Dirk Van Sen. There was nothing to do with.
Yeah, we had like this sort of hope that we'll be able to somehow maybe complete our Antwerp 6 experience, and by just finding all pieces from all of the members. And there was some selection from the four of the more important, more popular designers. So that's Dries, that's Anne, that's Dirk Bickenbergs, and that's Walter. But nothing from Dirk Van Sana, despite some of his pieces are hanging in the Momo Fashion Museum.
Oh yeah, but it's not for sale.
Yeah, so like that shows he is important part of the culture, and he is just really acknowledged in Belgium. But you cannot obtain his clothes. You cannot see them for sale anywhere, even on the internet, because we've checked afterwards, and
It was 3 pieces on grade.
yeah, and rare, even more rare designer to find, like the one that is basically unobtainable is the last one from the Antwerp 6, and this is Marina, the one from the with the Chinese descent, probably the least known member of the Antwerp 6, and we also didn't see her anywhere. Basically, like he was just non-existent.
But from Dirk Van Sen, we found out in our flat the price tag of our landlord, who probably was on sample sale in Antwerp.
Yeah, and what we've mentioned when we were talking about our conversation with the owner of Mark, that is, we found no vintage Raf Simons. When we were watching another videos from Antwerp, from people who went there and went there on a shopping spree, we've noticed that it was a sort of a pattern that vloggers were finding archive Raf in some of the shops, but we didn't find nothing, and it was sort of a letdown.
I think it was before Raf Simons closed his own brand. I think it was before, and people didn't buy it. Like, oh my god, this Raf Simons, we need to buy it because there would not be no new collection.
Yeah, it's possible. I think also the hype on Raf in particular grew a lot.
Yeah.
In the last years, I think in generally like the trends are now that they are like in great synergy with Raf style. I mean, he is just organically growing in popularity. And the last thing that's sad, but we've mentioned it only a while ago, is that you'll find pretty much nothing in the cheaper stores, that they're just not really worth seeing, and in order to buy anything noteworthy you'll need to spend probably from like €100 upwards. You wouldn't really, I mean, there are bargains, there are some finds that you will get cheaper than in other places, maybe even significantly cheaper, but it's not like I don't have money to buy designer clothing cheap.
So now I think we can say or show what we bought or we wanted to buy. Like,
Yeah, maybe we'll start from the things that we wished to buy but we didn't because
Like I can
of
say.
some several reasons.
I found out the velvet trousers of Ralph Simmons, spring summer 21. I guess it was
2021, I think
2021,
season, yeah.
and yeah, they were pretty nice. They were purple or rose. No, it's kind of like that, but
I think more like burgundy, so some
maybe.
sort of purple.
And I wanted to go there on the next day, but
The shop was
yeah,
closed.
because I checked it badly.
It,
I
it
thought
was,
that it's open, but
it was
closed. Yeah.
we messed up, and because of that we weren't able to visit most of the shops for the second time, and it's because of that we both do not have the footage that we did ourselves to show you, and we also weren't able to go back and possibly buy something that we missed on purpose. Another thing that I was very keen on was vest from the new Walter van Beirenden collection, and it was beautiful, and I was like really keen on buying it, but it turned out to be far too big to me, and I just looked stupid in it, which was very sad because it was supposed to have this oversized fit, but for me it was just way too big, and I didn't like the way it fit me. Also, the very similar case was with the Margiela painted jeans in VR. The
Louis.
Oh, in Louis, yeah. The Walter knit was in VR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the jeans were also too big for me, so I had to take a pass on them.
Yeah, and that was the sadly part of that story. But you also have a happy part of that story that I bought for my girlfriend as a gift. I found out Margiela skirt, which was a very old skirt, yeah, because it was a blank top. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a blank top, probably some sort of artisan collection with maybe like 90s or
Yeah.
early 2000s, so a very rare find, and also for a very good price.
Yeah, it was. Well, I can't say the price there because maybe my girlfriend is watching that. So, yeah, but it was in really good price for that piece of art. Yeah. And the second thing.
Yeah, but wait,
Oh.
she knows the price, you said her.
No, she don't know the price. She don't know the real price.
Oh, okay.
No, so yeah, we need to be quiet. And the second part
Yeah,
is your jacket.
the thing that I bought, it's this Andy Mr. jacket. I am not sure about the season. I think it's probably like the early to mid 2000s, I would say, or maybe even something newer. But what I was grasped with this jacket, I mean, I was instantly hooked by it because of this fabric. It has like this very silky touch, and it just feels really pleasant in hand. Also, this reflective, this glossy view of it. It's just something very unique, despite it's not being made out of silk. It's just very pleasant to wear and to just look at. So I think it's a really unique piece. Also because of it has the layout of the typical bomber jacket. It has the casual bomber or varsity jacket collar, but at the same time, those those sleeves that are more reminiscent of a blazer of some
trench.
sort.
Trench
Yeah,
coat,
or a
trench
trench coat
Mm.
or something like that. And on top of that, those strings that you could use to sort of tie this on your waist. So that also gives you another possibility of styling this jacket.
Yeah, I think it was very good, good thing to buy.
If you're still here, there is nothing left from me other than thank you for watching. And here's a quick disclaimer, because we've actually wanted to finish this video with the footage that we took in Witzli Paisley, which is the Ralph Simmons' favorite cafe. but it turned out that the bells on the Antwerp Cathedral were ringing so loud that all of the material we gathered there is pretty much unusable. So I could have left you with the picture itself, but I guess it wouldn't have been enough. So we've decided to cut this entire section out because the video was long enough already. And yeah, I guess see you in Brussels.